So the last of the officially marketed and talked about mounts for Guild Wars 2 Path of Fire is the Jackal. The Jackal is obtainable very late in the expansion, basically at the end of the 4th map. So we're talking very far south now, and it's a mount that has probably the most interesting and exciting region to obtain it of them all. So the only way that you'll get here is with a skimmer so that you can cross all these sulfurous hazes that would otherwise instantly kill you. And in the south of the Desolation, you will come upon this giant floating temple. So this is truly an astounding place. To get up there, which is where you will find your Jackal, you're going to need to take your skimmer all the way underneath the temple and watch very closely for this spiral staircase. So I will show you guys exactly where to get there before we climb on it. In many ways, the Jackal feels somewhat optional in that the ways it traverses the terrain are nothing that the other mounts can't do, with the exception of a certain variety of sand portal, which you're looking at here, and I'll get into more details of in just a second. I know for most people, this was the mount they were most excited about, and certainly it won me over the second I came to find out where its home is and what they are all about in terms of the lore. So we will glide our way up here. Not to geek out too much, but I really love this area, and the entire reason for the series is basically an excuse to show you how cool this is. I mean, look at how beautiful now that we're up here. The Jinn are here, and what they're doing is taking corrupted sands left over by the Marganites and Abaddon's breakout back during the events of the first game and twisting them to their own purposes. These are the Jackals, wolves made of shifting sands bound together by tormented runes and related through some means or other to the Marganites of old. So let's check it out. I'll get onto one. And here's mine. As you can see, he's dyed yellow. These guys are really, really interesting. First of all, you should understand that the story doesn't directly take you to this location, while for the other mounts it does. And so you'll genuinely want to go out of your way. It's also quite expensive too. Not only to acquire it do you need to visit this fairly out of the way location, but you also will need 20 gold and some map currencies, which you should have picked up as you've been playing the expansion by this point, but it's more expensive than the other ones. Then, of course, you have to complete the heart quest that you can find here. So, let's talk a little bit about its movement. First of all, you saw one of its idols. It does howl. This is what it's like as it walks about and it sort of pats through. This feels like probably the slowest walk of them all. I guess it makes sense because he's a little bit smaller. Most of their movement when they walk, I think, is really just set at a speed that would feel natural to the size of the creature, rather than conforming to any kind of specific balance pass. And then as we run around, we are like this. I think we're, again, about raptor speed. I think even the Springer might move around this. Perhaps we're a bit quicker here. But the real benefit is the... and here's the jump for what it's worth as well. Just about what you'd expect. But the movement ability is really where the Jackal becomes quite special. You'll notice that my endurance has 3 segments on this one. 3. And so each time we activate it, we will teleport. And I'll show you what I mean, because the Renown Heart is teaching us as we stand here on this floating temple. You see that unbound tormented energy? Well, we could use a raptor to leap our way over there, or we could simply teleport. And how cool is that? Not only can you teleport once, but you can do it 3 times, and the mechanic recharges incredibly quickly. So here, I'll demonstrate again, and we've got that. As another demonstration here, I'll show you. You can do a regular jump there. We can do a teleport here, immediately into another one, and then say all the way out here, immediately into another again, before instantly turning around and teleporting back, like twice, like so. Yeah, and this is quite a difficult mount to get used to the handling of, but once you are used to the handling of it, you can do some really impressive things like, and God, I hope I do this quite well here, like, for example, you can stand on the edge of a cliff, okay, you can jump off, TP forward, and immediately back. Now, I overshot that there, but immediately back and be perfectly safe. The other cool benefit is it's constantly recharging, so as you saw, even as I fell there, we were perfectly okay to do another teleport before we would have taken full damage. And in that way, we eliminated any threat of, struggling as we fell. So it's a bit like the skimmer in that if you want, you can take 0 fall damage on this, but you have to teleport right near the end of your fall in order for that to work out. To jump straight to the Masteries a little bit quicker here then, I want to show you these. Now, I haven't tried the final one, but you guys get the idea if you've been watching these spotlights. So first of all, Enhanced Evasion. The Jackal's movement ability now lets you evade. So when you are triggering it, when you're in that blink mode, you're evading. Next, we have Bolster Allies, which is Pounce now grants allies a strong barrier. Now, this is very powerful and relates to the combat ability, which I haven't talked about just yet, so we'll get to that soon. And then lastly, Shifting Sands. So Shifting Sands is the main mastery. Remember the tier 3 mastery and all the others, like jump high, jump further, glide higher. This one here is really the main thing. So we're now allowed to use, while we're on the Jackal, and only while we're on the Jackal, to enter these sand portals. Now, the entire expansion is full of these, and they take you to all kinds of special, exciting, weird, and wondrous places, like this floating ghost castle in the sky, as you can see here. But for our purposes right now, I just fell from the temple, right? Well, once you've trained with your Jackal for long enough, you'll notice that there's actually some sand portals right at the base of it, and if we walk in, boom, you'll notice we come straight on out. So this is like a quick travel system that you can now have access to, and not only will it speed up your adventure and your traveling to various places, but it can get you to places you'd never have expected to be before at all. So if we look at the temple complex, right, over there, right, like there's these buildings, there's these floating areas. Well, if we walk through these portals, you'll see we actually can teleport quite some hefty distance away from the main complex to, gather more items and play more things with the game. And I almost fell off there and tried to teleport to keep myself back on. So this really opens up exploration of the expansion. This is super rewarding for this reason. This is the most rewarding mastery I have claimed in the entire expansion so far, just because of how many times I saw these portals as I was traveling around. And now finally I've got the ability to go and explore where they came from. There are other interesting things you can do with the Jackal. Like, for example, you see that ring down there? Well, if we're careful enough, we can blink our way towards it. And actually, you see there's a sand portal that would get us here as well. But there are like hidden chests. So this is a secret chest hidden underneath the temple that you might not have otherwise found. And I get a 40 rebreather from that, apparently, which is kind of funny. And now we can just teleport our way. Oh, we missed it ever so slightly. But then we can teleport our way back up through the sand portals. So this is the idea of the Jackal. Definitely a fun one. In terms of core tier exploration, I'm not sure how much more it offers over the other mounts, because really it's these portals that make this guy feel super special to me. But the teleporting obviously does have its advantage in certain places. Now, last is to talk about the combat ability. So by default, this isn't actually that special. It blinds and it cripples foes as you leap in. So this is what the animation looks like. Boom, we just get to charge in, and it's a nice little engage. You'd be probably better off doing any other engage. But once we get that mastery I showed you a second ago, this also grants barrier. This grants a huge amount of barrier, like an enormous amount. So my health, okay, regularly is 14,215. If I leap on my allies, like this guy, for example, and even players, I will give them barrier, and I'll chunk theirs and my own health up. I gave myself an extra like 7,000 health there. I went all the way up to 21,000 health right on the start of the fight. And this can save someone's life. For a long time in the expansion, as I was running around as a bit of a noob, I saw other people using barrier on me, and I thought it was their elite specializations. Turns out it wasn't. It was they were charging in on this sand, spreading that sand around. So that's the way that the engage ability works. It can be used on the spot, like so. And you can keep spamming it, by the way, to maintain tons of barrier. If you've got 2 people, you can keep doing this. I'm not quite sure what the use case scenario would be, but there you go. Or you can use it at range, and you can sort of leap to a location and engage like so. It really just depends on how you want to control it. So, yeah, a really nuanced, really fun final mount for the game. The lore behind it is excellent, and Christ, who doesn't love a giant floating temple like this? What a location, and what a cool variety of things that you can explore and listen to from the Jinn in the area, finding out exactly why this is here. I still myself haven't explored everywhere in the expansion that this unlocks in terms of going through those portals, but I'm sure there's a lot more beautiful things waiting out there for myself and maybe even people who are interested in getting this one to go out and see. So last, I guess we'll have a little bit of a look at the dies then, which is really the last thing. The dice change the color of its eyes, and they also change the color of the runes. So I've got a yellow one, but maybe you would prefer to have a nice blue one. Or so here's a very like silvery white blue. What's sort of aurora blue? Let's go sapphire, right? As you can see, we can have a red one. I don't know why, but dyeing this one feels more fun to me than most. I mean, the skimmer has quite extreme dyes, but this guy, it feels like, I don't know, it takes me back to customizing my armor in Halo 2 days when I'd play that online. And so you guys get to, you know, really mess about and customize that. It would have been nice to be able to have done his eyes a different color, maybe? But I guess we get what we get, and we'll see what the devs do further. And you'll notice that I have no more masteries to show off. However, hidden at the end of the expansion, there is a final mount. A mount that can essentially let you fly, and the mount that the entire internet has been ablaze trying to figure out how to get and how cool it exactly is. That's the Griffin, and that will be the last video in this little playlist of spotlights, which will probably have a lot more to go into. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you very shortly.